Hey guys, what's going on? What I got here is I got a cluster for, you can stay back here, baby. Just click the cluster, actually. I got a cluster out of my 97 QX4. What's happening with it is the speedometer is not working. It's okay. It's periodically not working. When I press on the triponometer real hard, sometimes it'll start working, sometimes it won't. I'm thinking it's got something to do with the one of these corners down here. Here's the 4 screws that hold the speedometer in. Here's the 4 screws that hold the tachometer in. I've already fixed the tachometer on here. Some of you guys might be experiencing the tachometer doing all kinds of crazy stuff, erratic, going over here, going over there. There's a fix for that. I'll show you how to fix that. But I'm going to do the same thing to my speedometer, and maybe it'll fix it. The way you take this whole entire thing out is there's another piece that goes over this, a trim piece inside the car. It's got 2 screws. It's got a screw right here and a screw right here. You'll take those 2 screws out, pull that piece of trim out, then you'll be able to get to your cluster. You'll turn your cluster. There's actually 4 screws that hold the cluster in. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll take those 4 screws out, pull your cluster, kind of turn it around, and there's 3 connectors going into your cluster, wire connectors going into your cluster. That feeds the power to the cluster and everything. But what you do to take this apart, there's these tabs right here, and you press on these tabs. Give me a second here. Now, you can just take the glass off without taking the black piece with it, but I don't do that. There's 1 on the bottom down here. There's actually 2 or 3 down here on the bottom, I think. Okay. So you see, that's off. That's the clear bezel and the trim piece that's behind it. Here's the speedometer and the tachometer. Now, to get to the tachometer off or the speedometer off, now be careful with this thing, guys, okay? You want to be careful with it. Take these 4 screws out right here. Now, this will only work on a 96 and a 97 model. A 96, a 97 Pathfinder, and a 97 QX4. Because you all know that a 97 QX4 in the US is the first model for the QX4. QX4 didn't come out in 96, come out in 97. But there is a Pathfinder for 96 and a Pathfinder for 97. It'll work. 98 is when they changed the cluster. So this fix will not work as far as I know for the 98. It might, but I know it's different. The tachometer is different and the speedometer is different than it is on the 96 and 97. Okay, now the speedometer should come right out. Okay, here's your speedometer. So you can see it's got some soldering points on the back. But for some reason, when I press hard on the trip here, it'll make the speedometer start working again. Now, I don't know if it's got something to do with these soldering points, which I'm assuming it might, because over time, what happens to solder is it breaks apart and it cracks. Okay? It cracks on you. Now, on the back of the tachometer, I'll show you this real quick. And I'll get back to the speedometer. Take these 4 screws out to get the tachometer off. Like I said, guys, this is for if the people out there, well, I'm spitting all over the place, that has a tachometer that's erratic, that's going all over the place, doesn't read right. Okay, now this is for the 96 and 97 R50, okay? That applies to the Pathfinder and the QX4. You see these 4 corners right here, okay? What you want to do is you want to take your soldering iron, if you got a soldering iron, get a soldering iron like this, okay? And you'll want to go around and you'll want to resolder all these little bitty points. And all you got to do is just reheat them. Okay, just reheat them on all 4 corners. And you also want to do it right here in the middle right here. These 4 points right here. Now, when you get to these smaller points, that's a little bit harder, guys. I don't know if I would try those unless you're just really, really good at soldering. But the main thing are there's the 4 corners, because you got a ground here and you got your power. And it tells you on the back of the cluster right here. This is a ground right here. This corner, this top corner is ground. Let's see. I don't know which one is positive, but that's what I done to fix my Tach. I resoldered all these little 4 points, corners, and I reheated these right here in the middle. And I didn't do it long. I just reheated it enough to where if it's cracked, it'll fill the crack in. And this is for the tachometer that goes, you know, all crazy all over the place like that. That's what that fix is. It'll fix it. And I'm hoping that that's what's going on, you know, somewhat with my speedometer. Because my speedometer, like I said, it won't work half the time. But if I press really hard on the trip reset, it'll start working for a few seconds and then it'll stop. But sometimes it'll just start working by itself. Like it's getting a connection and then losing connection. So I'm assuming it's got something to do with these soldering points back there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resolder right here, right there, right here, right there, just kind of like on the back of the Tach. And any bigger sections that I can see that I can resolder, I'm going to resolder those too. I've got an extra speedometer in case I mess this one up. And hopefully I won't, but I do have an extra one just in case I do mess it up. So unless you know what you're doing and you're good with the soldering iron, I would suggest, you know, not trying it because you might mess something up. But if you want to take a chance and you have an extra speedometer, try it. Give it a try, because you're never going to know how to do it and get good at it unless you do it. So anyway, hope this video helps people. As far as putting the thing back together, you just reverse what I done, taking it apart. You just do it in reverse. One more thing I want to share with you. These right here, these bigger light sockets, these are the ones for the lights, okay, for your lights. I know a lot of people want to change out and put LED light bulbs in here. It's these 4 gray ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. These right here on the side, if I'm not mistaken, that right there is for your battery light. That one is, but it's the 4 big ones, and they take the same size bulbs as like a blinker bulb on your car. Actually, it takes the same size bulb as your blinker bulb, and your license plate bulb. I can't remember exactly. I think it's a T5. I think T5, yeah. LEDs will only go in one way, so if you put your LEDs in and they don't light up, take your socket out, rotate it a half a turn, stick it back in, and it'll work. Okay, they'll only work one way. Just remember that. So if you get them and you're like, oh my god, they're not working, I bought them, they're not working, that's what you got to do. Hope this video helps people. Any questions or comments, leave them. Appreciate it. Thank you.